one gets to have any birthdays on the air.
That's all right. It's getting into the new year. It's December 28th, and we are live on the Metal Lab. I'm joined today by a full house of Tom, whose camera has decided it's not going to show him, Mike,
Hey, how's it going?
and Jay.
Hey, how's it going?
And hopefully Tom's internet comes back in. There it is. He just popped out and popped in again. This episode, as always, is brought to you in part by HCRealms.com, one of the most amazing sources for Heroclix knowledge, as well as the least professional host of a show with his phone still on. Go check out the unit section, check out the forums, all kinds of cool Heroclix related information there. And while you're there, click the shop button while you're shopping, getting some of the cool Heroclix related paraphernalia, such as things like Dice Cup, which actually hold a ton of dice if you have old Warhammer dice, as well as hats, t-shirts, all kinds of cool maps. On your way into checkout, hit in the coupon code section, type in the coupon code MARRIED for 10% off of your purchase and to support this channel a little bit along the way. As well, we are brought to you in part by HCAtlas.com. You're running out of time if you're interested in the Nashville Zombie Apocalypse map. The rules are out. Check out their Facebook, facebook.com/HeroclixAtlas. And that will give you a look at a little bit of insight, if you will, into the map and some of the rules and some of what the zombies that are going to be on the map look like. Those of you who like your zombie apocalypse scenarios can't get out there and get some Zuvembis. This is a good option. That's $25 a month, gets you a new map each month, and hopefully with some of the movements that are going on, they become a little bit more popular in the tournament scene. We're also brought to you in part by MajesticCCG.com. Check out the Apex Insider site. It's an awesome premium site for really cool information if you're looking for, that high-level competitive angle of HeroClix. It's $3 a month, gets you some premium articles by some really good players. Mike Payne is one of the awesome article writers. Patrick Iboko himself. Diego, whose last name I keep forgetting, and I swear I'll get it in one of these. The Brazilian national champion. Kevin Afruz, Paris Gordon, world champion, Easton Brock as well. And, some articles are written by me. So some of them aren't the best. Check it out again, MajesticCCG.com/Apex-Insiders. All right, guys, we're going into the new year, and everybody who does some kind of YouTube show about a certain thing takes this time to take their obligatory list episode. And we are not going to be the only ones that are out of that. We are going to follow suit, as you will. So 2015 has been an interesting year. In reflection, we started the year with Justice League Trinity War, or the Trinity War set, as we all refer to it. That hit us a little late in February, then swing around to April, where we got the movie set of Age of Ultron, followed very shortly after by Avengers Assemble. And then we had Age of Ultron start around May, it looks like May, June. And then Nick Fury, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. hit us in August. And then we ended off the year with Superman, Wonder Woman in November. So that's kind of been the year. Let's just kind of take an overview. What have you guys thought of the year of HeroClix so far? Let's start with Mike on this one.
It's been a very good year, for me anyway. In terms of set releases, I've really enjoyed quite a few of them. They've added quite a bit to the meta, and have been surprised by several things that have happened in them as well. Overall, great year for me.
All right, awesome. Jay?
I've enjoyed most everything. Dial design has been extremely strong. We finally got awesome Hulks.
What a year for Hulk.
Yeah. Of a lot of different major characters and some not so major characters, but even the not so major characters are getting good dials, and the selection of different stuff is good. It's been good.
All right. Tom?
It's been a good year for HeroClix. I'm very happy with it. I think that more than ever, this year has seen a certain. It hasn't been represented so much in the competitive play, but in terms of the new stuff coming out, we've seen a little bit more of a rebalancing of things, putting a bit more emphasis back in characters and off and away from things outside of the field. ID cards are a good example of this, where they are. That was the major mechanic of the year that was introduced, and yet it's a mechanic that specifically trades on bringing in other characters and getting additional people into your force, as opposed to resources, which are all about kind of tricking out existing characters that you have, and they're also cheap by comparison. The only resource released within the year has been the Round Table, and it's a considerably, or I guess now that I think about it, Trinity War. Yeah, so we also saw the Rock of Eternity and Pandora's Box, right?
Yep.
And with all of them, we saw a significantly scaled back approach to resource design. Very different approaches, but not nearly so much extreme high power stuff the way that we saw with the Book of the Skulls, the Phoenix Force, all of the Lanterns, etc. And so I think that there has been a bit of rebalancing there. It's not to say we're not getting powerful characters. It's not to say that we're not getting potent things, but it is to say that the power is coming back to the figures that you bring to the table, and some of the other ways of bringing additional people to the table and so forward. So it really is a kind of putting the power back in the hands of the characters, and I think that's great. It got off that track for the last couple of years, and I think that that's a great thing. We're not going to see that really percolating through the major metagame until the next round of retirement comes through, but from a design perspective, that's kind of how I see this year as having gone, and I think that it's a good harbinger of things to come.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah. For myself, this was the year that I wasn't ready for. I'm gonna 100% just say that outright. As far as competitive play, I was not ready for what was out there this year. And going into next year, I'm looking to fix that. Of course, I'm gonna get into a little later on in the episode, but actually, I think we're gonna be talking more about that next week as far as future thinking. But this was a year where all my preconceptions of Heroclix have changed. And even though I'm still able to read the board, I wasn't reading what was powerful and what was game-changing correctly. And that was on my own reflection, my own state of play. That said, this is the year I look at it and I say, going into next year, time to change a little bit about the way I play. And I did enjoy the clicks that we got, and don't get me wrong, I'm not taking away from the game, because I still had a ton of fun, as I always do, playing Heroclix. I love this game so much. And I gotta kind of take a step back and go, all right, what do we do now? And go from there. But with that said, I did mention going in that this is going to be the list show, and we do have a couple lists to go through. So what we're going to do, we're just going to take turns. We have our top 5 figures of 2015 and our bottom 5. Now, bottom 5 is completely subjective, not necessarily that they're bad figures, but figures, were just disappointments to us in some cases. Some of them are, some of us agree that they're not as good as we wanted them to be, or just they aren't good, period. That's completely up to the person with the list. And as far as the best figures, I mean, they're not necessarily best in the metagame, but these are favorites, right? So that's kind of where we're going with that. Then we're going to talk about our favorite sets, least favorite sets, favorite ID card, talk about our memory, and then we are going to go into your questions. So that's going to be kind of the flow of the episode today. And we're going to start with our top 5 figures, and I want to hear from Tom first on this one.
Okay, so do we all want to give our 5, or do we want me to just go through 5 to 1?
Start with top 5. Okay. Then we'll go bottom. Then we'll, everybody will take a turn with top 5.
But as opposed to be like, I give my 5, you give your 5. I'll give all 5 of mine.
Yes. Yeah.
Rock on. Organization. All right. So, I need to point out that when it comes to the best, in terms of my top 5 dials, the approach that I took to it was the way I explained it to Jason today earlier by text was that it isn't purely the most competitive. If I don't like the piece, Nick Fury is a great example. I don't really like Nick Fury, even though I think he's highly competitive, so I'm not going to put him in my top 5 because I don't like him. That being said, I'm also not going to put it in my top 5 if I like it, but it's completely non-competitive, because I feel that the idea with the show is that we're still talking about the competitive game. So I like my top 5 figures that I feel have a place within a relatively competitive setting, and also that I really like. That's condition number 1. Condition number 2, I restricted myself to one Hulk. I didn't want to give a top 5 that was just a list of Hulks. I thought that would be silly. So you can consider any Hulk I don't mention as an honorary member of this list because I like so many of the ones that came out. It would just be ridiculous. But all of that aside, let's go through the top 5. At number 5, I put Sloth from the the Trinity War set. Sloth is my favorite of the 7 Deadly Sins. I think that Sloth really works incredibly well. You carry it in, and the way that he can turn people earthbound by just being nearby, prevent them from taking additional actions after they've taken their first one, and then whack them around with triple target incapacitate. The fact that he's got a permanent 0 damage that can't be modified up, there's lots of ways of working around it, and it's kind of a fun thing to work around, to either find other things you can give him by giving him mind control, etc., or give him ways of dealing damage like the axe or other sources of place claws fans, etc. I love that a lot. So at number 5, I put Sloth. Number 4 is the Shield Investigative or Paranormal Investigator. A fantastic piece. Not too many points to get your choice of Outwit or Prob. Again, if you need Prob, just push or find some way of dealing him damage. Otherwise, he starts with Outwit, and the fact that he can shut down Stealth and Shape Change makes him a phenomenal value for his points. Also bring the Shield Team ability and all that at a tidy little cost that you can throw on just about any team. Really a fantastic piece that is fairly new, and I've only played a bit, but I really look forward to getting more use out of him in the years coming. And speaking of low-cost pieces, but this time that I have gotten an inordinate amount of use on, number 3 is Atomica, specifically 25 points of Atomica, one of the best values of 25 points you can have in this game. Number 2 is a much talked about piece in competitive play, and it's one of my favorites, and that is Coriander. I think that Coriander is a fantastic piece. The Outsider's team ability is already one of my favorites. The fact that she can use it on herself to get around the modification, giving her a functional hypersonic speed with full range thanks to her transporter is fantastic, but she also supports team well. Nice deep dial, not great numbers, not a ton of powers, but there's lots of ways of giving her more powers, and the ones that she's got are perfectly good too. So I can't say enough good things about Coriander at number 2. And at number 1, so many Hulks, but the one I'm going to choose to highlight is the Age of Ultron movie Hulk at 300 points. That would be the main set one. I've talked about last week on the cast that he's my favorite Hulk right now in the game, only because I feel that he feels the most Hulk-like to me. The Shield Hulk is a close second insofar as I think that he's a more competitive piece, perhaps, but that Age of Ultron movie Hulk captures the feeling of having the Hulk on the battlefield in a way that no piece before ever has, as far as I'm concerned. And I really just love to bring him out anytime that I have the opportunity to stretch his legs. So that's my top 5.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Next up will be Mike.
Okie dokie. Thanks, Tom. That was a great list, actually, and it hit up a couple of my favorites as well. But when I was making the list here, I was trying to think outside of the box because there are a lot of figures that came out this year that are really, really, really good. And I didn't really, I guess, number them in, 1 to 5 or anything like that. This is just really a just general 5 that I really, really liked from this year. And I guess I'll start with Johnny Quick, the 82 point rare from Trinity War. Fantastic piece. Self-sacrifice is always a little bit fun. Crazy, amazing alpha strike, and throws people off completely. I played with him at my first top 8 placement at the Windsor Rock, and it was him and Zombie Super Skrull together, and what a combination. Everybody was just put on tilt right away by the fact that Johnny Quick was in their face and doing a significant amount of damage before Zombie Super Skrull ever even moved at all. Just what a fantastic use of 82 points, just tremendous. On top of that, I mean, obviously he has CSA, so that's some prob, and in that format, usually you'd have a Blind Owl in there, and Blind Owl is perfect for taking tokens. So yeah, that was kind of the first one that came to mind if I went sequentially from the beginning of the year to now. I guess next sequentially would be Ultron Future Drone. from Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron was kind of an odd set, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But the Future Drone is amazing. He is really, really good. It's really a toss-up between him and Six-Arm Ultron, Age of Ultron Ultron drone version, because, obviously Pulse Wave. But in this case, you end up with Penetrating Poison and Close Combat Expert on his second click. Because really, if you're thinking about the drones, their second click is what's usually the most valuable, because it has a lot of bang for their buck. 30 points is considered 120 points. So, at worst, Nick Fury is going to get that bonus in attack versus something that only costs you 30 points. You lose it, oh well, I have so many other things on my force. Sidestep, Penetrating Poison, Close Combat Expert, just unbelievable. Really, really, really tremendous. I go from there to Nick Fury. Now, I know that there's Nighthawk and Nick Fury and a few other things out there, but I wanted to talk about the Avengers Sky Cycle because it is an amazing chase. I tried to limit myself from using chases for the most part here, so it's a little bit more accessible for people. But the Avengers Sky Cycle chase, I don't believe it's that expensive to get now if you are going to buy it on the secondary market. But it's basically like adding on, what is it, 5, 7? I can't remember how many clicks it is offhand.
6.
It's 6 clicks right off the bat. Plus, it has the +2 effect that it has. So you can, when Avenger Sky Cycle makes an attack, you may modify its attack value by +2. If you do, actions resolve. Roll a d6 that cannot be rerolled on a result of 1. Place the pilot in an adjacent square, dealing it and all passengers 2 unavoidable damage. You can take the risk. It's really worth the risk in many cases, especially if you're putting a 30-point Ultron into it, for instance, which we have seen work very well at a recent rock.
Just knock him onto a better click.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. That's fantastic. Just a great little piece. Plus, it has the Avengers team ability, so if you're just moving it around, it's really not counting towards your total actions, right? Then I go for Mr. Mix's Pitlick with Superman, Wonder Woman, the little imp of my dreams. Little bald guy floating there, tremendous. He is unbelievable.
Oh, Mike!
Just from top to bottom, his clicks are there's nothing as valuable as what he is really. Nick Fury is maybe the most broken of the pieces out there, aggressively and everything else, but he's the most interesting and is almost as broken, really. Getting him to his second click is gold. So push him if you need to get there. Ignore his willpower that's granted by Power Cosmic. Get him to a second click. Running Shot, Pulse Wave that may place up to 2 tokens on that character. And because Pulse Wave ignores the target's willpower, you're doing 1 damage to them. Now, they're going to have to clear those tokens on their next turn, so do it again. They're going to have to take off those tokens again, so make yourself colossal with his damage power, and do it again, pushing yourself to click that has his special movement power that gives you free phasing teleport. So you're pushed out at that point anyway. Get the heck out of there. I haven't even talked about his dice replacement at all. I mean, the idea that you start the game with a d6 roll that you can replace any die roll with, pretty much. And then if you've kind of pushed him towards the end of his dial by using his powers appropriately, you can then clear him and take power actions to replace that die. Or do it in the middle somewhere if you want to. Just unbelievable, unbelievable figure. Yeah, he doesn't have keywords. So what? The last of my top 5 here is a little bit harder to get. It is a con-exclusive figure, and I'm talking, of course, about the 115 points con-exclusive Loki. I'm in love with this figure right now. I think it is nearly the best figure in the game. currently. The idea that you can have a figure that can't be targeted by Pulse Wave makes me giggle inside tremendously. On top of that, his powers. I mean, you've got Incapacitate, Mind Control, Super Senses, and Probability Control, plus traded Shape Change, plus traded Sidestep. And yeah, sure, there are some flaws to it. He can be targeted by deities and mystical, right? So, or characters above 150 points. He's still, I mean, outside of a 400-point meta, he's still going to be very strong. You're not going to be facing a lot of characters that can actually even target him. And if they can, lots of chances out of it. Lots of chances to get out of it. And rent.
Cool.
All right, Jay, take it away.
Okay. I don't think my list is as cool as other people's because I have very differing opinions, but we will try. I was hoping to go after Mike to segue to my bottom of the top 5. Not that there's anything wrong with him, but because he's just the least of all the awesome. And we start off the list with this guy over here.
Oh, yeah.
Who was both incredibly fun to use as well as potentially competitive.
For anyone listening, do you want to say who it is?
Oh, well, I guess. I guess I don't talk about this figure enough, so the Fast Force's original Avengers Hulk, who just has so much combat utility with all his different options of hypersonicking in, just running through all of the terrain, destroying blocking, attacking with awesome stats, even worse if you're playing him with the obvious Scarlet Witch, and then once he's in there, just his choice of flurry or close combat expert will make sure that he hits things very, very, very hard. And although he doesn't have the longevity or ridiculous regen or even full out Battle Fury of 300.1, he's more team-friendly intended. So, between being able to play him with Captain America for free move actions to get where he needs to go and Scarlet Witch, his being costed that way works very strongly in his favor. Would be a figure who I recently had some success with, which would be the Age of Ultron movie. Started at Hawkeye, who was just one of the most ridiculous attackers in the game for his points, and especially so when you consider traded running shot and his crazy improved targeting between his team ability and his actual improved targeting.
He was nearly on my list.
Do so much damage. So good. Even being able to destroy blocking is just, for the points, is kind of crazy, and it is amazing. The third character on this list isn't necessarily as competitive as some others, but who knows if her place will come, especially with all the recent pogs. This would be the Chase Red Sun Wonder Woman, who, in addition to her ridiculously awesome stats, as well as getting other cool options of things to do, like the mind control, and then at the very least, even if she doesn't get KO'd, taking away all to...
Oh boy.
It's a dark and stormy night here in the Wake
characters when
you cut out there when you were talking about her taking away tokens power.
When she dies, your team loses all their tokens. It's an awesome thing. Then her trait, when friendly characters lower points than her get essentially bonuses on their defenses, and then damage reduction, kind of, because the attacker gets -1 attack and damage, is just super awesome. And like I said, with all the pogs recently, there are a lot of those kind of characters that are going to be seen, and her points are also very team-friendly. To make sure you get maximum use out of her trait and have other characters to play with her. Not necessarily been played much competitively yet, but I've been trying, so we'll see. Number 2 definitely demonstrated its use in the meta, winning both Canadian and U.S. nationals. That would be Gluttony, because obviously so I love the relic. Being able to destroy blocking is awesome. His dial is awesome, especially with entities, because you're going to get to guarantee see the whole dial, barring Nick Fury existing. Yeah, Nick Fury being able to shut off powers that are uncounterable and normal made me sad, specifically because of this figure existing. And it just feels a little weird that like you can shut off like powers that are specifically super intended to never be able to be taken away. But Gluttony already had his time to shine, and he did what he did, and it was awesome. And obviously, amazing figure. Mystics is fun. And then to close off the list, we have the figure with no. One of the most point-effective filler investments you could possibly get in the game, and that would be Atomica.
You bet.
Because short of a 25-point Bizarro, arguably, you just really can't get anything better for the points.
Agreed.
Just a phenomenal piece with great stats for the points. I even managed to get an attack off on click 2 even at the All Commons tournament. So it's not just about the top dial 19, as we can see. She's still being played without entities, so there you go. And she makes the #1 of my top 5 because ever since I played her that first time, having that being awesomeness.
I love your dramatic pauses.
Oh, internet.
Just as a heads up to our fans who are watching live right now, I am watching some of the worst wind and snow outside my window over here.
Yeah, we got it really bad.
So if anything cuts out at my end, it will probably cause a bit of a problem for the show.
I'm out in the sticks in a house that has. In fact, I'm on this floor. We have one 3-pronged outlet. I have a sneaking suspicion that our internet and our power might be in trouble too. So, warnings fair.
Yeah, we will do our best to get through this episode uninterrupted. With that said, putting my list in order, number 5 for my top 5, Mr. Mix's Pitlick. The reason he's only at number 5 is because I haven't had a chance to fully experience him. I haven't had a chance to touch him too much, move him a great deal. I see what he does on paper, and I've played with him maybe once or twice, but not enough for me to get the game feel for him. I still kind of panic and go, can I Colossal this guy? If I make this guy Colossal, is he good? If I Giant Reach this guy, he's going to be pretty amazing, right? What's going on here? So that's kind of the stage I'm at with him right now. I know he's good, and what I've seen of him perform has been very amazing. I'm just got to get a little bit more out of him. That said, number 4 on my list is the Red Sun Brainiac. Now, the reason I chose Red Sun Brainiac is very specific. Ever since the new equip rules came out and entities work differently than they used to before, Brainiac was among one of the first ones where I voluntarily put together a build that actually had an entity on it. And it's a new trend for me as I'm going into, like I said, next year. It's time to just start using these things because I'm paying out the butt to get them. Might as well actually functionally use them instead of loaning them to everybody, right? Brainiac actually managed to get a pretty decent trade, but that said, Brainiac is my number 4 pick because he kind of enlightened me to entity wackiness. Actually, so the first time I got to really experience entities is on the video that recently got posted of, I think Amber's game against me with her Atlantis team and my robot team got posted.
Mm-hmm. I saw it.
What's that?
I saw it. Good
game. Yeah. And it gave me a chance to use Grid.
Yes.
Who would make this top 5 if I didn't have to do as much as I did to him. With that said, number 3, I think I schmoozed about this and loved this character last week so much that she deserves to be in my top 3, and that's Red Tornado. Because F dice.
Yeah.
I knew it. I could have bet on that one.
If you can do things without dice, it is better.
Exactly. It's like if the result, like she does roll dice, but if you can put it in the position where the result doesn't really matter, and you just kind of roll it and say, yeah, I rolled it, it doesn't matter. That's something else. Plus, as Tom kind of pointed out in the game in one of the pre-show games against Mike, you are fully able to just kind of use her to position somebody somewhere where they shouldn't be positioned, and really open up a shot for somebody if you plan on rolling dice after that. I'm kind of giving up on dice.
The combination with their width is so good. Take away their charge or whatever, and it's very hard to avoid that reposition.
Absolutely. And then carrying on, in my number 2 slot, I pulled this guy in sealed. I fell in love with this guy. I still use this guy, and somebody's probably gonna have to stop me from making builds with this guy, and that's Steve Rogers. I am in love with the Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Steve Rogers. The super rare, just the ability to add energy shield is so cool, especially when he has that keyword that you can't stop me from using no matter how hard you try, Mike. As well as his leadership ability, and just overall awesome. He was also really good on a shield team, and he does have the shield team ability, which is he's 150 points that is good and makes everybody else really good too. And that's if I'm going to be playing a character that's half or more of my build, that's what I want them to do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I've fallen in love with Mr. Steve Rogers. At number 1, I've used this guy quite a bit. Maybe not with games that you guys have seen. Maybe not very, very often against, in the competitive environment. But I have used the living crap out of the Trinity War Batman. And the reason the Trinity War Batman is number 1 is because from here on in, every Batman is ruined.
He almost made it to my worst list.
For me, we can't like a Batman after that Batman. He's become this flagpole of if it can't stand up to this Batman, I don't want it. I mean, you can play him at 85 points, and he's a solid support character who can add any support power or just add to your level of attacking. At 150 points, if for the extra 2 clicks you get bigger stats and just a little bit more life out of him. Overall, I've been able to more flexibly use that Batman more than most figures I got released this year, and I'm hoping to probably see a little bit more life out of him, though he may be done for at this point. He was one of the figures that I've built around a lot of teams in the early part of the year, and he's just kind of stuck with me throughout the year. So, with that said, we've gone on our positives. Let's bring it down a little, and let's go negative. What were your bottom 5 figures of the year? And I'm going to start with Mike. Now, before we let Mike start, I want to go into this saying these aren't necessarily the worst figures.
No.
These are just ones we didn't like for some reason, just couldn't bring ourselves to play, we're just totally disappointed in, or just have a reason for not liking these figures. And it's when we say bottom 5, it's it puts you in opinion that you didn't like this character for a reason. So the character could be too good. That's could be a criteria somebody uses. That's up to them. But yeah, so sorry, Mike, for interrupting too soon. I'll let you go ahead.
Not at all, man. Yeah, it's all good. So yeah, I'm gonna start with my biggest disappointment. I was really, really excited for Superman, Wonder Woman because of the chases. They're all Red Sun. I'm a big fan of that comic, and they had a Lex Luthor in there, but it wasn't a chase. That really pissed me off.
Especially considering that's one of the few times
Lex
Luthor
from that comic is the greatest Lex Luthor. Period. It's the Lex Luthor that defeats Superman and then makes the world better.
Sorry.
So it's not so much about the act. I mean, listen. This is called the Meta Lab, so this isn't really a meta point. But that Lex Luthor can just rot in hell. I don't even care if it's really any good. It actually is. It's okay. But
overshadowed by Trinity War.
there are much better Lexes. Yes. So anyway, yeah, that was hugely disappointing, especially considering they could have done Lex as a chase rather than Red Sun Bizarro because he's in it for 5 seconds. Really, or several of them. Anyway, that's such a piss off. My number 2 here, they're not really in any order. Just the second one I'm going with here is from Nick Fury, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it's the good old squid head Viper. I just like... The sculpt is weird. The dial is like, meh. Yeah, okay. Neat. Cool keywords. Yeah, you've got hammer. There's just nothing to write home about with this character at all. Yeah, the third one I'll go after here is from Age of Ultron, and that would be War Machine.
Yeah, there's Jason's doing his Viper impression there.
Oh, is he? Nice. I'm looking at this.
That or possibly Wendy's, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's either that or he's Wendy from Wendy's, yeah, for sure. The collar says mom now since the rebrand. So anyway, yeah, War Machine. I pulled him in one of the seals, one of the not my home venue seals, but one of the seals I went to, and I really wanted to play with him because I didn't know whether he would be that bad. He's not terribly horrible, but he's 200 points of your team and doesn't have willpower.
Didn't you play him on a bet with me?
Yeah,
and we both played him.
Yeah. Oh, that was the second time. That was the second time, and I did better than you, jerk.
It's because your only win was against me when we were both using him.
No, I won 2. Actually. I went
throwing down the gauntlet.
It was you and Will Kai Peckman. But I lost against Ryan Gendron. So yeah, running shot. I mean, on paper he's got running shot. He has the pick a power based on the powers that he has. I think. Yeah. Let me see here, just to double check.
He can pick from a number that are on his card.
Yeah. So he has a whole bunch in the last half of his dial. So, Pulse Wave is there, for instance. I find that his defense value is a little bit low, and he's got Impervious, but I mean, if you're coming up against other guys who are better, then you're going down anyway. But yeah, the lack of willpower is really where I draw the line with that. It really pissed me off. It should not be that way for War Machine, in my humble opinion. And let's see here. What's my next one? Okay, this one at first I really liked the idea of because I was kind of enamored by the neat powers that it had. But ultimately, it's way too expensive for what it does, and that is Ex Nihilo from Avengers Assemble. Yeah, Dry Heave, right? And I love the sculpt, and I liked Infinity, and that's where I knew him from. And
spoiler alert, it was number 6 on my top 5 bottom of the
Oh, really? Yeah. Cool powers, neat, very cool, but 190 points is just not even close to worth it for this piece.
No.
Yeah. And then last but not least, I got Frankenstein on here from Trinity War.
Really?
Yeah, this is more, once again, non-meta-y, just kind of disappointment. I had read an Animal Man arc with him in it that was done like a year before. It was the Rot World arc, and he becomes the Green Lantern after Green Lantern dies. And his arm is chopped off, and then he has a willpower green glowing arm. It's like, well, that's awesome. Why wouldn't they do that? And then they show this guy. I'm like,
wasn't that one?
Anyway, he's actually not horrible. He's pretty fun to play as. He's 93 points. He's not horrible, but I was just pissed that I didn't get my Green Lantern Frankenstein, especially since we have the Green Lantern power battery, and then it would work really well because he'd have the keyword, obviously, being a Green Lantern, and yeah, anyway. First, I could do a reenactment where I just, possess him with Ion and play with that anyway. Anyway, that's pretty much it for my bottom 5.
All right, Jay.
I guess if we're gonna do an honorary disappointment, I'm say my honorary mention, huh?
Sorry, your internet's kind of flaking out on us on this one.
So business as usual.
Yes. Yeah.
Your internet's giving us the business.
Yeah. So bottom honorary mention, although the dial itself is actually good, but just it is not fitting for the character, and there are other mechanical problems with the dial, like stealth but no improved movement. into Trinity War, John Constantine.
Mm.
Yeah. Just for the character, the support tile is decent enough, although I think that it's overcosted both money and points-wise for what it is. And it's like, if it's the only option you have, then what can you do? But just being a happy, everybody's friend support character does not feel right for the character. And although I have gotten some use out of him, I don't like it. Although it's better than playing the other one because it gets dirty looks, and even though he's only a 4-click character, can get killed, but people react very strongly to no prob. So, kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place in that regard. But the actual bottom 5 is also all from Trinity War. So,
Wow.
yeah. Most of these are there's a lot of comparisons to other dials here. So we're gonna start with at the bottom, so not the absolute worst, but the bottom of the bottom 5 is the Bizarro from Trinity War, who just is kind of He's just
Yeah.
Not really mad enough to get mad about, but like, especially when you compare him to the ridiculous other one. Yeah, he was cool in the comic, but the sculpt is so bad.
It's like we still like this version of B-Zero.
Yeah.
The sculpt is, and it's, I can't even get mad, and it makes me mad because there's nothing to even get passionate about. It's just kind of sucky. It's only a common, so what can you do? Number 4 would be the Dr. Savannah from that set. And although I really like the Secret Society keyword, his offensive stats are okay, but his just blank 16 defense, no. My internet's probably not happening right now, is it?
No, it's happening fine.
Yeah, you're fine. Right
Oh,
now.
okay. You guys are kind of frozen. Yeah, his defenses are just atrocious. His offenses are okay, and I feel like there's a lot of points that get invested into his anti-mystics trait, which is just not that common already, and it's just not worth using. He's way too expensive. I played against him. I've never played him, but when I played against him, he just gets killed pretty much right away. And he's a cool character, and the Crisis one was decent-ish. And I really like the sculpt there, and this one is just no thanks. Number 3 is a weird one because his powers should work one way, but they haven't been ruled to, so it's like he's not as good as he should be, but he'll be the Prime Dr. Light, who, based on the wording, as far as I know and I'm concerned, he should be able to like do the McCall Rasputin thing of like 60 movement running shot. But after rechecking the rules for him, where they gave a "we'll answer it later" answer, there's nothing about it there. So his trait doesn't really do anything except for move actions, and he just doesn't really feel prime worthy, especially with his stats not being very good. And pretty much every common prime has been really awesome recently, and it's just he sticks out, especially because of that. And the regular common version isn't too hot either. He's okay. He's better for the investment than the Prime, but with how awesome a lot of the JLA is in the set, the one Prime not being very good is a bit sad. And I have played him, and he's okay, but he's just really disappointing. Number 2 is another case of comparison to another dial, and that is the main set Green Arrow from that set, who, when you compare to the Gravity Feed, just tears. So many tears. Yeah. It would be okay if this guy was differently good to the other Green Arrow, but he's just kind of basically does the same things, except not nearly as good in any single regard. So, yeah, that's a figure that's never going to get played. And he's not even very good in his own regard when not comparing him to the other one. And number 1 makes me so angry because in Trinity War there was 2 characters that were made that had been previously been champion pieced This is the one that still had a modern version from only a year before. Stargirl from Slosh is awesome. And there was nothing except for the Justice League of America keyword, and this thing is just so bad. And it just makes me very angry, and it almost feels like an insult that this was made when the other one was still modern, as if this is actually supposed to be good. Like, did someone think that I was going to play this instead of the other version? I don't know, but it just makes me really mad that Alex Seville went to all the effort to make this really important character super awesome, and she is, and then they just make another one for no reason, waste a slot. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with this figure, but it's terrible. I've played it once in a battle royale at Nats, but that was because I didn't really have a choice, and it didn't do that well either, even when the points weren't taken into account. So this figure just makes me really angry, and I hope I never have to see one again. So that is my list.
All right, Tom.
Okay, for my bottom 5, I wasn't sure whether to choose pieces that I thought were no good or pieces where I thought were too good, etc., etc. And as Jason said, we were kind of given carte blanche. And so the way I decided to approach it was I identified 5 figures that I have given, because let's face it, even when we're being negative, let's keep things positive. So I decided to give each one a very special award, because it's basically the king or queen of its own particular category. So, somebody's house burning down, by the way?
There's something going on outside.
Oh, okay. As long as it's not your house.
Snowstorm, there's going to be stuff.
The orphanage totally spontaneously combusted. Mike had nothing to do with it.
Okay, so I've got 5 clicks, kings and queens of their own particular categories. We start out with the Design Mistake of the Year award, which goes to Felix Faust before the nerf. Probably the most divisive figure, the most frustrating figure, and the most overplayed figure within a brief period, to the point at which The Rock actually had to ban it, and most of the people that I know that even have it don't play it outside of Rock events or so forward, simply out of the goodness of their hearts. And if we all know anything about Heroclix players, it's that if something's competitive, they're going to play it regardless, except people still have learned to avoid this piece because it takes so much of the fun out of the game. It saps out the fun like some sort of tree tap, taking all the sweet, sweet maple syrup out of it. Anyway, I digress.
Okay.
Slow down on that reference.
Whoa.
The point being that, yes, Felix Faust absolutely was a huge mistake. It's an unreasonable piece. It takes the fun out of the game. I've talked a lot about in this cast about different effects that either give you more or take things away from your opponent. And the Felix Faust, in his purest form, his original form, is the poster child for taking the game away from your opponent. Jason has done testimonials about that. Lots of people have. Felix Faust is just no fun. He won Worlds and no knock against anybody who used him, because again, he's a competitive piece. You make the most of it. I'm certainly not trying to knock anybody for using the piece, but he belongs in my dishonorable 5. Next up, we've got the Runt of the Litter award. When the Nick Fury and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. came out, it introduced us to the reintroduction of vehicles for the new era, which included the very inexpensive S.H.I.E.L.D. space rig for only 25 points, nice little vehicle. Mike's already gone on about the Avengers Sky Cycle, which is really good, and I find Cap's motorcycle for only 35 points gives you a lot. Really, if you want to get some big hitting done, then you can always put somebody into the Thanos throne. It's not a great piece, but it really can give you some extra things. That pulse wave running shot is pretty fantastic, or an enormous amount of movement. Or maybe you were unlucky and you pulled Kang's time chair.
Hey, don't knock it.
I am knocking it. I don't think it's
no.
Good at all. I know that it gives you prob and sometimes double prob, and I know that Mike Payne loses his stuff when the option of double prob hits the table.
Double prob, man.
Double prob, man.
If
I'm sitting across the table from you, I make sure to put anything down in case your side starts to rise a little when that comes up. But but double prob is not worth it. I don't think it's worth the points. It's a bad piece, and honestly, the other 5 vehicles outshine it by such a massive margin that it really is the I pulled a chase. Oh, it's the timeshare. Next up, we've got the Squandered Potential Award, which this is basically one where I feel like they could have done so much with the character, but instead they just phoned it in. And for me, it's actually Captain Universe from the. She's such a cool character. That version of Captain Universe from Hickman's run on Avengers, leading into Civil War, really cool stuff is going on. She has the potential to be unbelievably powerful. She has the potential to be one of the most powerful tokens. It's a very interesting character concept, and they could have done some cool things with it. Instead, they made you pay 165 points for Prob and TK. Now, admittedly, later on the dial she gets better, but it's unreliable. You have no... I hear that I'm Skyping out on you. I'm sorry to hear that.
Just a wee bit.
Just a wee bit? All
Just
right.
a wee bit.
I
Domo arigato, Mr.
I blame
Roboto.
the sticks.
You blame the band
You can hear
sticks.
me. Yes.
Yeah, we can now, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can hear me now, then certainly yes. I find Captain Universe quite disreputable. She's just bad, and I feel like they could have done cool things with the character, but they didn't.
Can I just take a second to point out that the end of her dial is a solid brown?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very appropriate.
Someone played it actually recently in our Bazaar tournament.
Yeah, in a Bazaar tournament, it has very brief potential, but honestly, I still don't know that it does for 165 points.
No,
it's not
worth it.
Well, because
Oh,
then with the
cool.
solid brown, you're not even getting the power cosmic, which is like that's kind of a Captain Universe thing.
Yep,
So.
it's the worst. The worst. However, I honestly don't think it is as bad as the Hot Mess Award winner. I just don't know what to say about the Blue Marble. What a horrible piece. Just overpriced. All kinds of powers that don't know what they're doing. No click is very good. No click is reliable. You take damage, you've got completely different powers, and sometimes I like that when it can be used strategically, but they're not adequately differentiated that you can use them strategically. It's awful. It's a hot mess. It's a gazillion powers that really don't come together to make anything other than a dial that feels like it's 50 points overpriced. It is an absolutely horrible piece, and it kind of also makes my dishonorable debut award. It's a doubleheader because it's the first time we've seen him, and he's terrible. And just in case I keep Skyping out, I'll just use my share here because the place of honor is what I have decided is going to be the Worst Dial of the Year award. And the Worst Dial of the Year award, ladies and gentlemen, goes to this gentleman that I like to call Signal Man. What? What a joke. Okay,
So good, Tom.
one of my favorite things, if we read the comments on here on HC Realms, we have has anyone used him yet? I feel like he could be good. Reply. He was great as the guy who took all the action tokens on my mostly CSA team. His second click is usable, but his short range makes it really hard to make any real use of that mind control and incapacitate. But let's be honest, guys. Even though he's only 50 points, you have to push him to be halfway decent. By the time you've pushed him, he's an easy one-shot for anybody who just feels like KOing him. He only has one click that really is usable, and even that one is pretty poor. The fact that it's not the one up front, you dust on top of that his trait that gives you a very selective capacity to make him a little better at mind controlling people. The reason why he wins this award for me is anyone who has a trait that makes him extra good against using mind control then forces you to push to use mind control. It feels like somebody's making a joke at your expense. So yeah, there have been some bad ones, but to me, Signal Man wins the award of Worst Dial of the Year. And
I remember I remember in that one video of the like pseudo unboxing of the Trinity War set that I can't remember what the heck website did it, but like when the person doing it opened up the Signal Man and was excited, that was the only time that's ever happened.
Probably because he reads comics and likes Signal Man as a comic character.
I don't know. Like some people here that like really or seriously read didn't even know who he was. So I don't know. I don't know if I should care.
Well, we may have lost Tom to the wooden internet of the sticks. So hopefully he comes
Come
back
sail away, Tom.
somewhere in the middle of my list. Now, my list, I decided to point out that sometimes a character being worth money isn't a reflection of their dial.
No.
So when I made my list, I was like, I didn't like that character. I've never used this character. I can find a million different ways to use better choices than this character. And my list came out to be pretty pricey. So I'm going to start with the cheapest of my list, and that is Kang the Conqueror.
Kang the Conqueror, you
attempted to
say?
use him. I have tried to use him, and he is every bit as disappointing as the dial turned out to be in play. There was not much to say beyond the fact that I didn't like him, and I really wish that he wasn't a prize figure and he was just a common in Age of Ultron instead of being something I played to get. So next up was this happened once. They allowed this to happen once in the game, and never again has it happened since. And they created an Ultra Chase. And that Ultra Chase spot was taken up.
She was actually something
by the
else
White
on my list. Yeah.
Wow, did she ever let me down?
Tom, we can see you now.
Oh man. Oh, I've used every time I've tried to use this character, it's just been a goddamn nightmare. I think I came up with one idea that might work, but it takes so many kind of like how Grid didn't make my top 5 lists. It took layers upon layers of things that aren't regularly coming with this character that I had to put on this character to make her any kind of use or get any kind of use out of her. And at 70 points, I found they just gave me a much better option than Mr. Mix's Spitlick. So I'd rather spend the points there than on, unfortunately, the White Rabbit, who is, when they said this Ultra Chase is going to be a character that people run after, but isn't really going to be that game-changing, they damn well weren't kidding. So next up on my list, this lady, she was on fire. She's hot looking, but I've never used this figure, and that is the female Ghost Rider, the con exclusive Ghost Rider. Just 99 points of sitting on my shelf. I've seen so many different choices at 100 points, and when you get a con exclusive that just gets overshot by every 100-point figure that exists in the world, it really just, she kind of matches with the friend that I put above her in Spider-Ham. I mean,
Spider-Ham's actually usable for the
Spider-Man took a big hit by losing Alyosha Craven. And that's because I have blinders to the modern age, and my golden age, when something is good in golden age but not necessarily in modern age, those blinders kick in. It's well, I just don't care then. And unfortunately, Spider-Man has the animal keyword, which is cool. He's a half decent dial, but again, there's not a whole lot of teams I can safely say I'm going to use Spider-Ham today with. Other than throwing a bunch of con exclusives on the board because it's table day and I really didn't think of a team. And finally, and Mike is going to probably be angry at me about this one because he loves his comic, also on the con exclusive list, also on my non-favorite list, also on the bottom of my list, was Animal Man. The fact that you can fill your sideline with animals and pick a single power from one of their cards it's somewhere, and I think it has to be standard too. Was just I didn't see any kind of use in this figure, and I've played him 3 or 4 times, and he just gets melted.
Honestly, to speak to that, I am not offended by that in the least.
Okay, just making sure.
I do find he's not he was sought after for me, so I do have him on my shelf just because he's an Animal Man, but he is kind of crap. So.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's good.
Yeah, but that's because you're Tom.
Tom's gonna wait till everybody forgets that Animal Man exists, and then he's gonna break the meta with him because they're gonna make some new version of Alyosha Craven that's gonna be amazing. And
Yeah, something out there that takes advantage of them.
all of a sudden, but of course I'll probably have built it too. So I love me some animals. I like generic keywords. I don't know what it is. It's just a thing. I gravitate towards generic keywords because I like too many comic books to choose favorites. So all right. So with all that negativity off, we have to go through a little bit more negativity. I was originally going to go with the favorite set, but I kind of want to get out of this negative bubble that we're in. So we're going to kind of keep in the negativity for a second. And I'm going to ask Mike. Mike, the sets that were released this year, what was your least favorite?
Least favorite was Age of Ultron. That was the OP set. Last year's OP set was War of Light, and that was like absolutely amazing. So many things were usable and balanced, and each wave came out with numbers of things that you could use very well, and introduced the entities and possession and all these other like different aspects. The one redeeming thing from Age of Ultron is the drones. All of those, and well, of course there is. Oh no, was that from AVA? Jocasta? That was from AVA, wasn't it?
No, that was Age of Ultron.
It was Age of Ultron. Okay, so there is one possessor, the nerfed down, semi-usable possessor. But yeah, the only thing that's worthwhile out of the whole thing really is the Ultron drones in their various forms, shapes, and sizes. But yeah, no, it was really disappointing. I looked forward to this OP set. I mean, speaking of disappointments, that Kang that you were just ripping apart, he was the last prize for the whole thing, other than the grand prize. Also, you know, to be fair, the Avenger Sky Cycle, or not the Sky Cycle, the Quinjet is actually really good. But I spent a lot of money going to different tournaments to be able to play and accumulate the set and everything else, and just didn't quite feel worth the money. I love playing, so I'll play, and I'll spend money on it any day of the week. But if I look at it in comparison to previous stuff, just it wasn't there.
Tom.
Sorry, are we on worst? I keep losing.
Least favorite set.
Least favorite set? Yeah, it's Age of Ultron, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
It clearly is Age of Ultron. It just doesn't stack up against the others in any way, shape, or form. I don't know. I can't even. I missed half of what Mike said, yet I'm sure Mike said it all. A few good pieces came out of it. And as an organized play event, again, I also love Heroclix. I'll play it anytime that I can. But this event was not. It didn't make me excited because of the figures I was getting. It just made me excited because I was getting figures and because I love to play Heroclix. But it was by and large quite mediocre, and that's really the hardest thing about it is it was purely mediocre, and even its lows were not the lowest. I found when I was preparing my dishonorable 5, none of them were actually from Age of Ultron. They weren't the worst, but they were so far from the best. And in a way, I find that more aggravating than them necessarily being filled with bad things that you can only kind of have fun with. I just can't have fun with that set, so it's got to be my lowest.
All right, Jay.
I'm afraid I'm going to be alone again, so fun. The way I thought about this sort of question is proportionally, just purely by the numbers, how many figures as a percentage from this set am I going to play and enjoy? And Age of Ultron, now that I think about it, is not the best. It's got some gems, and including the ID cards, it's got some stuff to enjoy. The Hank Pyms are fun, a lot of Ultrons, a lot of stuff to do with figures. Got a Jewel, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But just numbers, it's looking at the set. I mean, obviously it's Trinity War, just considering how it was my entire bottom 5. Just I just looking through this set, out of the uncommons and the commons, I don't want to play any of these commons besides the Parademon. Any of these uncommons besides one, the Outsiders, both the Outsiders and Lex Luthor. And then not very many of the rares. Just so much of this set is something I will never ever want to play. And although there are quite a few gems, it just doesn't really balance out to so much of the set being something I will never want to look at. And just the resources being this whole big deal and then not really being that good is just an additional big disappointment. There is stuff to love in this set. There's stuff to love in every set this year, but just yikes. And if I could say the con exclusives this year, I would say that instead. Just because, yikes.
I think I already said that this year.
Yes.
Yeah, you pretty much covered them, yeah.
I've not said...
well, I just wanted, after Canadian Nationals, we saw half of them, and then I was like, okay, they're keeping the good ones for Worlds, and then...
No, they weren't.
They get the good one for Worlds. All right. Now, I have to say, 2015 was a good year for Heroclix for me. I loved so much of this, what came out this year, and including, I like Age of Ultron a little bit more, but I got a Power Man and Iron Fist, so F all you guys. It may not be that great, but I got them, and I'm content with that.
Yeah, I like how you rate a whole set based on 2 figures. It's good. That's a balanced approach,
how many
my friend.
of those Ultrons have I used? I use those Ultrons constantly. So, anyway, that said, I don't want to defend the set because you guys didn't like it. The set that I picked, I didn't say is the one I didn't like. It was my least favorite because it was a good year. I liked a lot of the sets that came out, but the set that stands out to me as the one I used probably the least is Avengers Assemble. I just don't use a lot of those figures, much like Jay doesn't use a lot of Trinity War. There's a couple figures that stand out for Avengers Assemble, but for the most part, I'm not interested in using a lot of them, or there's just in a lot of cases things that are better. Now, part of that got changed by the fact that ID cards exist, so sometimes those characters do find their way to the side of my board, but I kind of don't qualify them in that way, or qualify the set in that way, and the fact that I have to kind of put them aside to bring them in, right? I think the only figure I've got much really strong use out of would be Red Wolf. Of the rest of the set, I mean, Jay stomped me once in a game where I used the hood. Using the hood from the get-go was a big mistake anyway.
The boot was halfway down already.
Rick Jones is probably the only chase you're going to actually see me use, in spite of the fact that I have them all. Maybe some fun games with the Hulk. And I know I've had King Thor used at least once. But that's in the high end, right? I mean, the low end kind of helps to define the set as well, and nothing really kind of makes me go, I got to use that, I got to use that, I got to use that. It's just kind of the way I felt about the set. So, I mean, again, this is, our least favorites, and I did like this set as well, but it's the one I'm using the least out of. The New Warriors have let me down just enough to make me...
Yeah, they kind of suck.
Not that happy with it. Anyway, with that said, it's time to leave the bubble of negativity and exit into our favorite sets.
Oh my goodness.
It's time for the bubble of positivity, and Tom's on a time limit, so you get to go first, Tom. Tom, what was your favorite set of 2015?
I'm going to make an 11th hour change here because at first I thought it was the best set of 2015 or whatever, and that was going to be Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But my favorite set of the year was Avengers Assemble.
Oh, God.
He changed it to say FUJ. That's what he did.
Well, the funny
He's
part,
had it since the beginning.
I've had this conversation with Mike lots of times. And the funny part is that it definitely had some stinkers. I mean, there were some terrible pieces. Both Star Brands are awful. That Captain Universe was so disappointing. But by the same token, even the Hulk wasn't all that good. But it did give me Hulk the End that was really quite good. I like the chases. I love Ragnarok, and Justin Seyfried is highly useful. And more than anything else, I like the number of playable versions of new pieces that we hadn't seen before that we got. The Avengers Academy pieces, for example. I'm a big fan of them. And I'm glad that we got so many of them and that they feel so interesting. Veil is a completely unique piece. Living Lightning is not a member of the Avengers Academy, but all the same, a very unique and interesting piece. Works really quite well, even if it's quite soft. And in general, there was nothing from that set that I felt was super broken. I mean, Ragnarok's pretty awesome, but he's not super broken. There is really just nothing that I found in that set that really turned me off. And there are lots of things within the other sets that I think detracted from my enjoyment of them. In fact, I was about to mention Nick Fury in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but to be fair, Nick Fury himself, the CSR, and Nighthawk Prime kind of hurt the set enormously for me because they were so overpowered and unbalanced that they took some of the fun out of it. And really, more than any other, Avengers Assembled I felt didn't have that. There really was nothing in that set that made me regret that it had ever been made. And there was a lot in that set that I enjoyed. So yes, there were some bad things in there. I would not try to make a case that it was the best set of the year. But it did introduce us to ID cards. It gave me a lot of characters I'd never seen clicks before that I wanted to see clicks of. And it did give me a few enduring pieces that I can keep with me. And all in all, that's enough for me. So I think it actually was my favorite of the year. I'm a Marvel guy more than DC, so it was almost certainly going to be a Marvel set. And now, I think that's the one.
All right. Take some time, Jay. Jay, what was your favorite set of 2015?
You mean me, Jay? You're not just talking to yourself, right?
I don't talk to myself.
All the time.
Usually
Except
when
in
I'm
the bathroom.
speaking, it's after
Need a little
you
coaching.
sitting on my floor.
My favorite set this year is very divisive emotionally for me, because it kind of isn't the set it should be based on the name, but it's still really good. And even though Wonder Woman doesn't have as much representation as she should, the set itself is just very strong and has so much to love and enjoy. In every slot of rarity, there's something to love.
Yep.
You have Justice Society, Wonders of the World, a lot of generics, like a crazy amount of generics. And the high rarity figures are quite strong, and the chases are from a cool story, and they all do cool things. And the fact as well that a lot of the best figures in the set are lower rarities, like you have General Lane, uncommon, Retornado, uncommon, and just that pattern of and Lois Lane, who's a rare. For some reason, Lois Lane, in two different versions of her, was the best figure in the set. So,
Yeah.
for your CUR acquiring peoples, there's really good stuff. And the primes are also ridiculously awesome. I love Brutal. And the combination of Brutal and Steppenwolf really makes an Apocalypse army feel how it should. When all your parademons are hitting every turn and never getting tokens, and kind of breaking the way the game is supposed to work, but then again, who cares? It's just ridiculously awesome. Faust is also a very strong thing in the set, who, although he doesn't really necessarily fit as well in this set as he would in, say, World's Finest with the mystical sub-theme, he's in this set, and he's awesome. And then just between him and Mixie, just making probability not matter as much and not be as much of an issue can make the game better for people that don't find luck to really be the thing for them. So it's nice to see that we're getting some characters that can kind of tilt the balance of that and have less unfortunate circumstances of dice defeating somebody as opposed to their opponent. And yeah, really awesome set, awesome stuff in all the rarities. And although Wonder Woman kind of also got shafted out of an SR, her rare is just ridiculously awesome and is way easier to acquire than the SROB anyways. So that's kind of a positive in and of itself. So, awesome set.
All right. Mike?
I'm with Jade on this. Superman, Wonder Woman. Absolutely. I really enjoyed it. At first glance, I thought it looked a little underpowered considering the theme. And the whole Lex Luthor thing really, really pissing me off. Like, I've never had such nerd rage as I had with this set. But the rest of the set more than makes up for it. Yeah, I like the fact that the Wonder Woman is rare and not super rare, so she's more accessible for people because she's really, really good. The Lois, I've spoken about her several times on our show. She is the love of my Heroclix life right now. That's the not the Red Tornado one necessarily. I actually haven't played with the Red Tornado one yet. I do see the potential and awesomeness and seen the results with the Rock. With that one, but I love the Don't Touch Me Lois Lane. I'm a little reporter. I'm gonna go out there, and if I'm next to my buddies, you can hit me, but otherwise you cannot. Yeah, I think Jay covered pretty much the rest of it. So with that in mind, I will pass.
Although neither of us are wearing a celebratory hat.
It's true, but we should be. We should be.
It was kind of weird how, like, some of the strongest things in this set were, like, mystical, but then we have a set that's coming up that has specifically mystical sub-themes. That's the thing.
And it probably won't have a detected chip I want.
It will.
Yes.
It will. Because
already got
Shadow
a
Pact
great
is out. There's a
detective
lot of Shadow Pact. I actually was talking about this with somebody the other day. Like, Shadow Pact has been pretty happening, especially this year, so... Especially with the recent Injustice comic and how awesome he was and Harley Quinn being a part of it, I can see him being made. So keep your hopes up.
Yeah, right. Like I had for Camo.
Oh.
Anyway,
Another sad
all the griping aside, my favorite set this year was Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. For one, I like S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. I love the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. Hydra headbutting thing. I also looked through it, and there is maybe 3 figures I haven't put on a team in this set and actually played with. It is, I think Golden Claw was one of them, but he's on the to-do list.
I played him. I played him in that seal that we both played at, and he did pretty awesomely. Yeah. So
he played against me, and he was really good.
Oddly enough, one of them is the Hulk as well. Mostly, my problem with playing the Hulk is I had this fear. It's like I'm gonna let the Hulk down. Oh, and the other one is I think it's the right leg. Yeah, it is the Hulkbuster right leg. Those are 3 things I haven't used yet. I have used the entirety of the Hulkbuster, and I used all the different parts for limited format testing. I have used pretty much every single figure in this set in some way, shape, or form. Nighthawk was pretty fun on a Squadron Sinister team, as well as a Thunderbolts team alongside Bullseye. I think, Jay, you put me onto that when it first got previewed. So, overall,
sorry, say that again?
I think you're the one. Somebody mentioned it to me that Nighthawk and Bullseye both had Thunderbolts.
Yeah, that was me. That was me. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it was exactly as ridiculous as we discussed. So, anyway, as well, the Sealed was one of my favorite Sealed environments for those of you who like playing with a lot of figures or a lot of what you pull on the board. You're probably, on average, going to play one of your packs as your team. As Nick Fury, like the quantity of one of your packs being, 2 packs, 10 figures. And in some cases, I heard people playing in the 400-point sealed format. Don't do that for Nick Fury because you're going to be playing all your packs and still be short. That said, the set overall is great. It's a lot of at face value, not that great, but played within the set. Really good figures, and it's a set that kind of settled well with me overall. I mean, all things with Nick Fury notwithstanding, and we all hate that guy and hate having to build around him, but everything else about the set was pretty positive for me. So,
am I the only one of us who's like actively building with him?
Why did you get the auto-tune for your voice there, Jay?
I do have builds with Nick Fury. I'm not 100% against him. It's just that, when you build initially with Nick Fury, it feels like you're taking it on easy mode. Whereas if you build around him or play something else, you feel like you're less on easy mode. And it's just that feeling of it, right? I mean, I think I played in all 3 of the games I played at that Winamap. I played against one team that didn't have a Nick Fury, and then the other 2 matches were against teams with Nick Fury. So I've already kind of had that burnout with them. For me,
I did Kurt stomp you that a bit, yeah.
What's that?
Sorry?
I did stomp you at that event with Nick Fury against your blood, Steve, so yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see why people have a problem with him, but like, even when you're building with him, you still have to build against him. So it's not like you're just playing Nick Fury and have no worries in the world, right? You still have to worry about him.
All right.
More than meets the eye.
And it's really warbly right now. I don't think it's connection at this point. It might actually be the mic, though. So I'm not sure. We'll try to plug through it as best we can.
Yep.
It's just really difficult to understand you right now.
Sounds like you're about to turn into a little stereo.
I kind of want him to sing that song Blue.
Babba-dee, babba-da. All right. Now, this one just kind of got added at the last second, but it was pretty simple. And what is your favorite ID card, guys? Because we have 56 of them. It's a lot. So I'm gonna let Tom lead in on this one. What was your favorite ID card?
Sweet, I can snipe Mike Payne because my favorite is also Rick Jones.
You jerk!
Rick Jones!
No, it is my favorite. Like it's funny. I knew that was going to be my choice, and then I checked the file and saw you've chosen it too. So take that, Nick. I love Rick Jones. First of all, I like the fact that he's one of the cheaper TK options you have. Not the cheapest, but one of the cheaper options you have as an ID card to bring in a TKer. And that is a strategy that people often don't see coming, surprisingly. The check for do you have TK often doesn't extend as far as your sideline, and so I've played him to great effect, bringing him in just to use him as TK. That being said, with his gargantuan range, he actually can be brought in and make an attack from an extreme long distance away, and particularly it's his ID card effect that kills it. He really pumps up your ranged attack. He gives somebody the inspiration to pump up ranged attacks, which includes pumps up him if he wants to be the one making the ranged attacks. He's just really effective in that respect. So, you bring in a Rick, make your ranged attackers better. If you need a TKer, he's there. If you need a tertiary attacker, he's there. And you can do it all for relatively low points. So, yeah, I think Rick is fantastic. Mike, what's your favorite?
I like Rick Jones. Because he's Rick Jones. Your main attacker is being based by some nastiness. You've got a guy in the back. He calls in Rick Jones. Rick Jones TKs your guy back beside him. And then that guy can shoot really well.
Sure
Boom.
can.
All right. Okay, hopefully your mic is okay. What is your favorite ID card from 2015?
How am I sounding?
Good.
Perfect.
Better now.
Perfect.
Oh, thank goodness. I don't know what happened. I really like this one, but I get a lot of argument from people because they think triathlon is better. But
Ronan?
I don't know. If you're telling me I have to pick between She-Hulk and the Nobody Triathlon, you gotta go with She-Hulk, man.
Yeah, man.
It's a more common ID card, and yeah, she costs a few points more, but really in this current environment of how ID cards are really being used, 15 points between 60 to 75 is not going to matter. And she has the extra awesomeness of super strength to deal more damage than him, and then the perplex is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also She-Hulk. What do you want? Who cares about triathlon? He's a nobody. She-Hulk's where it's at.
I'd argue Ronan in that case, too.
He's way more points, though.
No, I know, he is. He's 90. But it's really good.
He's 109, I thought.
Is it 109?
109.
Oh, well, I'm way off.
Uh-huh.
Mine was triathlon, mostly because 60 points, mostly because extra 15 points of ease. But I do understand your argument with the She-Hulk, where she's a little tougher to take down with the. I think she has invulnerable or impervious of some sorts off the get-go.
Impervious on the 75-point dial.
Yeah.
Invincible on the full points.
Yeah. So I mean, she's a little harder to do damage to as far as that's concerned. I think the inspiration would probably throw She-Hulk a little over Triathlon as well, because I think Triathlon adds +1 speed and +1 attack or something like that in a specific situation, where She-Hulk, she adds damage if I remember correctly, right?
No, it's just attack. She does +1 attack to either close or ranged.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So, anyway, I found when I had the choice, I actually took both. Let's be brutally honest, because for 10 points you get 2 characters that come out and flurry for a lot of damage. If She-Hulk can pick up an object along the way, that's 5 and then 3, whereas Triathlon comes in with an 11 attack and is more likely to hit. So you kind of read the situation from there. But yeah, I picked Triathlon over She-Hulk because I've used him more frequently. But again, She-Hulk is also that one I go, I could use She-Hulk as well, and often do when I have the both as an option. All right, now Tom is on a limited time limit. Tom, you take the lead on this one, and our last idea that we had for us was, what's your best clicks memory of 2015?
Okay. Well, I'm kind of glad that I get to start, really, because I can tell the story that takes us right back to the very beginning of the year, and it takes us here. My favorite memory, you might think it was Canadian Nationals, because I did the best in that tournament, and I definitely had a blast at Canadian Nationals. But frankly, my favorite memory of this year goes all the way back to the regional tournament in Windsor. And the reason why that is so special to me is because it was the first time I'd ever really gone to a competitive Heroclix tournament, a higher level tournament in that respect. It was very cold, and it was the beginning of the year, and I woke up at 4:30 in the morning to jump in the shower, get in the car, get some takeout from Timmy's, and then hit the road 4 hours to Windsor. By the time I arrived there, I became a coffee-drinking machine, who was more interested in staying awake than playing Heroclix, but I was certainly very interested in playing Heroclix too. And it kind of opened the door in a lot of ways for what has been this year, the first year I've really taken the competitive side of this game seriously. I've always had respect for it, but I've never been that involved with it. I've always been a casual sort of player, even if I was trying to be the best casual player I could be. I hadn't before realized just how much fun it can be to get away, and you really are getting away to hang out with a bunch of like-minded people and spend some serious time, whether it be for a day or a weekend or however much time it is, enjoying the company of people who share a passion with you for a thing that you both love to do. And it's a complete misnomer or a complete fallacy that the competitive side of this game is cutthroat, or that it isn't enjoyable, and that the casual game is the only way to have fun. The competitive game is a fantastic time. People who really take this game seriously and enjoy trying to do the best that they can are the best kind of people to have a good game with. And I've built in the last year a lot of closer relationships with friends through this game, through that side of it, and that was a great introduction. It was a one-day trip. I didn't make top 8. I got in 9th at that time. It was practically becoming a joke. Jason and I played one of the most fun games that I've played in ages with a Beyonder and a pair of Hulk robots against the combined forces of the CSA. I got to sit by. I got to meet some Heroclix royalty. I had 2 back-to-back games that came right down to the wire, beating Jason because of a Super Skrull roll gone wrong, losing to Kevin Fruz because of a Proxima Midnight roll gone wrong. 2 last-minute turns, just making them fantastic games, some of the most fun that I've played in ages. And the whole thing opened the door to a side of Heroclix that I hadn't really played before, and it had turned it into what has become an unprecedented year for me in this game, and really getting to realize just what a rich community there is, and what a rich realm of possibility you're getting into when you start to take this game seriously and commit to it. So with that, I think I will sign off. I want to wish a Happy New Year to everybody on this cast and everybody watching at home, and hope that your year in Heroclix has been good too, and that the next one will be even better.
All right. We'll miss
Thanks,
you.
Tom. Yeah, Happy New Year to you too.
Happy
Happy New Year, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Jay, what was your happiest memory or your best clicks memory of 2015?
It's hard.
Poor guy.
was it the time the internet worked?
But
Oh, dude, you
say,
lagged out completely.
huh?
You just lagged out completely. Like nobody could hear a thing you were saying.
I was just and over.
Oh, you're humming and hawing.
I guess Canadian nationalism as a whole, just being a thing at all. Oh no.
Yeah, your mic's blowing up on us again. You know what? I'll let Mike go, and then you see if you can get that done, and then all right, Mike.
Ha! All right. Well, Tom's heartfelt moment was dear to my heart as well, but it wasn't my favorite or best clicks memory of 2015. I think nothing really tops flying down for a single day of Heroclix in Atlanta, and then flying back the next day. Going down to the World Cup, the Rock World Cup, was amazing. My cousin's wedding was on the Saturday, and I managed to make it through the ceremony before I had to hop into a van and cut across the border, go to Detroit, fly from Detroit to Chicago to Atlanta, to arrive there in the hotel for about 1 a.m., meeting up with Patrick and Kevin, and then staying the night with one of our local guys here, Patrick Chow, before playing in the most competitive Heroclix I've ever participated in at all, and managing to come in 8th at the World Cup was unbelievable. I mean, then there's winning money on top of that, but I think that the best part of all of that is meeting a whole bunch of new people that I'd heard of, some of them, but I'd never met, but also some that I had never heard of and did meet, and just great attitudes all around for pretty much everybody that I played against, and managed to see their matches. The podcast in the background with Ryan and Kenny and Patrick and all those guys was also fun, and being there when Isaac won was nothing is like that. That was absolutely amazing. Everybody felt good for him, and yeah, that was just absolutely momentous. And then coming back, another 2-part flight on my way home. Just a real event, something. I guess a real life event. Yeah.
All right.
How about
Jay,
you?
Do I sound like garbage?
you good?
No, you're good.
I don't know. Like I'm not touching anything. But my mic is just deciding to not be very,
it might
very
be
happy.
the internet connection kind of jumping in and out at
Maybe.
the same time.
Maybe it's the storm.
Maybe Ice Storm, fun. Would have to say that overall, Canadian Nationals is probably the best. It was my first real competitive anything, and having that in Canada at all is just crazy to think about compared to years past when getting convention exclusives was not the most pleasant. And just being able to play at that level was fun. So much sealed, a lot of battle royales, a lot of prizes. Traveling for Heroclix was fun, and just overall the whole experience is great. And I'm looking forward to the next one, and then maybe Worlds this year. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, my best clicks memories every year always come from the Nationals. And this one was no stranger, because this one was probably one of the most invigorating or it was the longest climb I've had to deal with regards to that climb to get to day 2, as far as Nationals is concerned. I had to fight tooth and nail for every point. I had to play as hard as I could ever play just to get that slot in day 2, and I actually didn't get it until the 4th tournament. Now, for all my complaining about what happened in the first tournament, going 2-1 doesn't really feel that good getting into day 2. So, I mean, for all the griping I do about it, I prefer to go in the way I did, going 3-0 in that final sealed, and capping off a revenge match against Edward Berkowitz, which I think I owe him. We have a third match coming up somewhere in the future that kind of caps off the best of 3, if you will. Memories like watching the metagame change over the course of that single event was insane. Like, watching my team go from amazing to wow, I can't play in 2 swoops is just it's an intensity thing, and I kind of love that intensity. Getting under the camera was a lot of fun this year. I guess it was good luck for me. I went it was 3-0 under the camera. So. But overall, I enjoyed it, getting in the hotel room, having some beers afterwards, trying to decide on what I was going to play the next day, having my regrets afterwards. All of this is good experience, and it's a good memory. I do really enjoy the event. They do a good job of running it over at Carta Magica, and I hope it gets bigger next year, and I hope they have the venue to run a much bigger event next year as well.
More participants.
It's a ton of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully it doesn't follow too much in suit with the U.S. National, but that remains to be seen. Yeah. So
don't forget about the best part of the whole thing.
What's up?
Blowing up the Batcave.
That was, you know what? It wasn't so much blowing up the Batcave. That was a thing that was bound to happen based on what I had to roll to hit that freaking Skull ship. What was great about it was hearing applause when I killed the Batcave. That made me feel really good about that.
The scale of that is ridiculous. Like, one Mandarin ring blast blows up the entire Batcave.
Rocket, take this ring. What's it do? Let's see. Oh! Alright then.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
That was
a lot of noise was made about that, and really added to the intensity of that game. And making the Super Senses rolls there, too, was pretty key in that. I started to look at that team and realize how lucky it was in a lot of the matches that I came up with. And I could come up with quite a few lucky situations. Like, wow, if that would have gone one other way, that would have been a different game altogether.
Yeah.
With that said, it's been a great year. I'm looking forward to another year. And next week, we're going to be talking about our Clix year resolutions going into 2016. As next year, or next episode will be on January 4th. So we're really looking forward to that coming up. But with that said, it's time to share with our users and get their questions in. So this week, first question comes in from Econo Lamar. He actually has 2. If you could make one change in the upcoming rulebook, what would it be? Jay, you like rules. What would you change if you could change one thing?
Wow. That's a really good question.
I'll give Jay a second to think.
Yeah, give me a second, because I was preparing for questions. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good question, though.
If I was to change one thing, I would take equip and just put it on things. Because it's neat to have possession being equipment, and then having the special objects that are equipment. But let's add it to resources. Let's tighten it up a bit. Let's add it to the things that we all know we want it to be added to, because it's time. If you're going to be adding this new keyword, let's add it in all the places it's necessary. Put it on the relics. Well, put it on the relics. Put it on the resources. Let's just do that streamlining thing we're all talking about. That would be the one thing I would do. So, Mike?
Is he really asking, from the changes that we've seen happen, what should be added to the rulebook, or a change that I would like to make?
The exact wording of the question is how I put it.
Right. Okay.
This is rulebook strictly, not pack.
Yeah, this is strictly rulebook.
Strictly rulebook. I would make an exception for plasticity and tinies.
What do you mean?
Well, make it so that plasticity on tinies affects things that are larger than them.
I really understand why they made that change. It is a bit
I do
absurd.
too. I get the idea, but I think it would be better the other way around.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, what would you change?
Maybe I would like clarification on what traits
No.
work when you're playing the game versus when you're building your force versus when they're on your sideline but still work. Just there's a lot of confusion there, like how you can keyword cheat with certain things, and that's happening when you're building your forest, but like other things don't work. Like, just clarification on how that kind of stuff works would be good.
So you would clarify how that works.
How traits work when you're building your forest, when a character's on your sideline, and like all those different funky things.
Okay, awesome. All right, and then he goes on to ask, what set are you most looking forward to in 2016? I'm actually really looking forward to Civil War myself. I'm crazy like that. What can I say? Mike.
The sets. I'm really looking forward to Uncanny X-Men. I think it's gonna be awesome.
All right. Jay.
I have to say World's Finest, just given some of what we've seen already, which is not very much, but enough. And the knowledge that I'm getting more mystical generics when the Thule Priest is one of the best pieces of all time. I played it the other day. It still did awesomely. It's just a super awesome piece, and I'm going to be disappointed when there isn't something that trumps it, but I'm still super pumped.
All right. All right.
Which is...
So next up, Rick Sasser asks, what character would you like to see get made into Eclipse next year, DC, Marvel, or Indie? Which one would you like to see come out? I'm going to let Mike take the lead because I have to think for a second.
Is that previously on Clicks or just period?
Just, well, even period. If we want to see a remake of something, mention it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've always wanted to see a good version of Chamber from Generation X.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big love for me. Yeah, I love that character. I met Chris Bacalo in 1994 when Generation X #1 and 2 were in my sweaty teenage paws. Got him to sign it. So yeah, no, I love that character.
Okay, cool. Jay?
I was going to say Detective Chimp, but I'm going to leave that for you in case you want to say that.
No, I'm not going to if you want to take it.
No, I'm looking at the wheelchair Magneto on my desk and kind of realizing that, like, as much as the GSX one was a big thing in its day and the AVX one is awesome, I don't feel like there's a really, truly amazing Magneto, which makes me really sad given how important he is. Like, there's nothing wrong with the AVX version, but just he doesn't feel like the super awesome figure that he should, like, a leader, because he doesn't even start off with leadership top dial, like, he doesn't have, like, certain powers he should have. I want a really fantastic Magneto, and with Brotherhood, so I don't have to acquire the zombie chase just to play with Brotherhood, which is silly.
Okay, I can see that. For me, I have been crying for this figure all year. You made a set with Colossals.
Oh,
next
camo,
to
yeah.
the Metal Man in it. You give me my green blob, you. Camo. I want camo. And they have no excuse because he's a Metal Man enemy.
That's true. You may end up seeing him.
Yeah.
Well, given the size of some
be...
character... What?
He's probably only going to be a giant, but I'll accept it.
They've made impressively big giants in booster sets, especially in Slosh, so I can see a satisfying one being made.
We'll see. I'll keep my fingers crossed, but that poison radius better be big.
Reminds you how presents can do crazy
square
things.
Poison.
Yeah. Okay. So next up, Chris Perbanik asks, what figure did you want to be meta worthy but just couldn't make it work? Mike.
Namor. Namor from Nick Fury.
Amber is currently experiencing that right now.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful sculpt too. Like that's arguably the nicest sculpt ever made. It's 140 points. Not quite there.
Yeah.
I think he's incredible for his points, but just not compared to the meta. Like everything
he's just
outside the
not
meta.
meta.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, Jay.
I would love to be able to go to a tournament and do awesome with the Chase Phantom Stranger. And he has a lot on his dial that's really cool. And Alex Avila even did a cool article for HG Realms where he made a team with him. But I didn't really like it so much. But just... Nick Fury makes me so mad sometimes that I can't guarantee power usage even when they're Quintessence or Power Cosmic. It's enraging. But there's a lot to love. Being able, he can carry a whole team. He can potentially never have 2 tokens. He has Pulse Wave, which is awesome. Really solid stats. Free mind control. Does a lot of things that I like. I would like to be able to do awesome things with him. But he's just kind of not all the way there.
Yep. And for me, I've built a couple teams with him, and it's just he hasn't found that slot that he belongs in yet, and it's been Superman Blue. I've included him in a couple builds. It's been suggested that he go in a couple builds, but every time I put him on a build, he ends up getting a big target on his head because he's not particularly thick, and people who know that know to go after him. And I've desperately tried with no avail to just kind of keep him on a team and keep him going, as opposed to looking at him on the teams that I build him with and just go, he's feeling like the weak link here. I got one more that I'm sitting on, but it might be just about time to give up on Mr. Blue Boy. It's kind of where I sit on that one. All right. So next up, as I kind of readjust everything here and have lost half the questions.
Didn't answer the map one.
What's that?
We didn't say maps.
We didn't, because there's like 5 or 6.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, that was me just being silly anyway.
This was a very weak year for maps because we had, 3 fast forces with no maps?
Yeah.
So...
would have loved to see an Earth 3 map, just like what kind of craziness the CSA would have wrought on their own world.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. All kinds of debris and whatnot. And just on the other side, the Earth 1 version of whatever they blew up.
Yeah.
Mm.
The House of Mysteries is a pretty decent, cool indoor map.
I like Pim's Lab for what it's worth.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you've talked about it a great deal.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, we have Fabricio Granados. Actually, this one's more of a pat on the back for us, guys. The events of this year have ended. We've got proud new champs and an intense battle between Nick, 94th Phoenix, and Rick Jones. OP Scarlet and filler with our friend Nighthawk Prime. The fall of Nick was good. But with what was better, seeing someone qualified with a Phoenix Monkey, no question. Just want to thank you guys, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Yep. And 2 Space Rigs and a Spider Ham made it to me. Good year incoming. I apologize for all the bad things I said about Spider Ham, but he's just a disappointment to me.
Now somebody will make him really work.
Yeah, you know what? That's what it is. I say I don't like something, and then somebody goes out of the way to prove me wrong. Like, I remember a whole bunch of us like, I don't like this Faust too much. And then we didn't, when we previewed it, we all missed the fact that he was just going to shut down the game.
The problem with Spider-Ham is that there's nothing magical hidden there that's like going to be revealed. He's just a close combat character.
Yeah. You know, and with all the reading we had to do with Faust, it's just nothing really stuck out. It's like, okay, so that's a thing. That's the thing. Right?
It's just overload. It's just like, oh, he does a lot of things, and it's like reading.
We suffered in our review of him by having a time limit of a show. All right. Next up, Charles L. Franklin. Happy New Year. What is your favorite colossal figure of all time? Mine is Fin Fang Foom. That's his, not actually mine. I was just reading the comments still. I'm so drawn to so many of the new Colossals, but I'm gonna have to say right now my favorite has been the Superman Batman robot. Really love that one. Mike. Titano.
Yep.
Big fat monkey. Jay.
Lots of clicks for 250.
Gotta say Brimstone because free action,
Throwing a pulse
placement. Well, I'm thinking, all his styles are good, but like I really especially love his super ridiculous pulse wave, and then his retaliation dial is awesome for he can free action to place, make his attack, and then penetrating poison.
Yep. I love that.
He can just do. I'm surprised he hasn't made it onto any of your no dice rolling teams, although I guess those were limited.
Yeah, right now the builds I have for no dice are limited.
I'm looking forward to hopefully you building one of those with the Red Lantern battery. That'll be fun.
Well, I mean, remember some of my best success in the winter maps leading up to provincials were all like Red Lantern teams with Animal or Phoenix Force teams with Animal, and I was relying a lot on the poison because, goddamn, was I never not hitting. Except against Drake, that game that went down to the wire where I used my giant reach with Alyosha's Lion to finish off the game was just like,
wow.
Let's do this. that was the only game where I made attacks, and I literally had just the Lion, Lockjaw, my Red Lantern, and Battery on the board left. That was what was left.
Yeah.
Insane.
Now that you mentioned Pogs, it's been a crazy year for Pogs.
It has. Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Just between Rick Jones, Dr. Demonicus, all the Hank Pyms, there's just so many Pogs, and it's amazing.
Yeah. I've enjoyed all the characters that make other characters, and I've enjoyed how many of them are very, very easy to give poison to nowadays.
I don't really like I don't like the High Evolutionary so much, but other than that, pretty much every Pog making character this year has been awesome.
Dormammu.
Yeah, I think we spent enough time trashing the Age of Ultron prizes as it was, and High Evolutionary ended up being the best one of the four.
I just realized that I still haven't gone to Nighthawk.
No, I like what's his name with the telekinesis.
Huh?
Out of the prizes, what's his name? The
Graviton?
Yeah.
I felt that they started off decent with Grandmaster, then went downhill. And actually, I remembered now that Grandmaster has Squadron Sinister, and I also remember that I don't even have a Nighthawk. How hard should it be to get a I want the non-prime version. I post every time I want the non-prime, but nobody wants to trade it to me.
You can borrow mine if you want.
But I want it for me because I have to do my own bullseye thing that I told Jason to do.
He wants to has it. I get it.
All right. So next up, we have Chris Stockhouse. It's official, guys. It's an episode.
Oh my God! It's a real episode now.
My newest ROC or Rock Limited team is a scientist team with Dr. Demonicus and Captain Marvel Prime in an attempt to give the Kaiju 21 defenses. I swear I've seen this before. And I'm looking for a map to best fit this team. Any ideas? Right now I'm filling in the rest of the team with Engineer and a Weasel, and I think there are points to spare for Hulkbuster part or other objects. I also want to say thanks for all the answers and advice you've given to me and all the other viewers all year long. I know we all appreciate it. Otherwise, we would have stopped watching a long time ago. We do appreciate everybody who does watch and everybody who does, come in with your questions. We do enjoy answering these questions, as it does add to the show, and lets us have a dialogue with you guys. But with that said, Mike, haven't you recently been talking to me about something like this?
A scientist team? Can you repeat what you kind of cut out for me there for a second?
Okay.
What was the...
But his lead-in was it's a scientist team, Dr. Demonicus, Captain Marvel Prime. That's kind of where he leads in.
Yeah, this is something I'm building right now, actually. It's funny. I leave the scientist alone, though.
It seems very weak to Nick Fury once you take the Captain Marvel's power out of the equation.
Yeah.
But it is nice that the monsters have good defenses and are 0 points, and Nick Fury's not going to get his bonus against them.
You can get rid of the theme and go with Miss Marvel and Mixie on the team, and it'll work actually really well.
Which
doesn't have
Miss
to be
Marvel?
scientist name. AVA. Super rare. Miss Marvel.
Oh, because she's also because she can become a colossal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. She becomes a colossal. Makes you can make colossals, so basically Captain Marvel or himself. And yeah, you go to town.
Yeah.
Well, that's mad science of its own.
That is mad science.
This is some weird.
You don't
science.
need theme when you have that.
Yeah, I don't know. But you can't really rely on a map. It's not a thing.
Yeah, map choices. Honestly, even though you have a ton of colossals, with the Nick Fury problem, Mike's love of Pym's lab is going to go a long way, along with ranks. You need to kind of mitigate that range weakness that you often times run into with this kind of team. So
they can target outside. Like they ignore elevation for targeting, and of course it goes the other way around with the new size rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
ranks
kind of what I was thinking.
Ranks really isn't a big problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
But is ranks outdoor? I thought it was indoor.
I think it's out. I can't remember. Oh no, ranks is in. No, I'm thinking of Ryut. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Ryut's outdoor. I wouldn't suggest that with it. Ryut's just like, shoot me right here. This is where I am.
Well, if you're planning on being awesome, it doesn't matter really. You could use it.
They got the haircut right. All right. Next up, Obi-Wan Chris. Congratulations on all the milestones you guys reached this year as far as likes, viewers, members. Thanks for a great year of clicks-related stuff. If you have time for another question, how about this one? If you could design your own figure, who would it be and what special powers and abilities would it have? For me, it would be Booster Gold with a Skeets Pog, my favorite DC character by far. Anyways, thanks as always. I'm going to give Mike and Jay a little bit of time to think on this one because
I already know.
I already did.
Dr. Doom and his power set or his trait is actually going to be something that kind of represents the Doombots. So my idea in my head, and I'm kind of spitballing at this, is he hits a certain click, and then he gets removed from the map, and then and then you put him in the starting area at either a starting click or whatever, and then that was a Doombot is going to be the name of the power. He's going to be hella expensive based on whatever dial because you're going to have to kill him a couple times because he's got Doombots. He's Dr. Doom. It's kind of the idea I want to go with. So for the most part, the dial would be mostly vanilla, and a lot of where he comes from would be coming from traits. So that would be where I come from with it. And when you get to the Dr. Doom, the final version of Doom, then it's going to increase his stats, which is the idea. So maybe 2 tokens, make him or 3 tokens, make him like an 8-click dial and 300 points, and just watch that happen. That would be my initial design plan, and I probably get thrown out the window. But anyway, that's what this noggin is thinking up. Mike.
Chamber, full range pulse wave with locked value of 3, 110 points, only 10 attack to compensate. But he does a 1 unavoidable damage to himself when he does the actual big pulse wave. That's how you balance it out.
Yeah, makes sense. Jay.
I've been trying to work on perfecting a dial for the Joker for years, but it's hard. He's one of those characters where he's not easy to translate just because of what happens in the comics. And they have made some decent versions of him in the game. Like I really like the Arkham Origins one and the Arkham Asylum break out of prison Joker mechanic is a good idea, but just I don't know. There's so many different ways to look at it. Like I've designed him with a Bizarro dial kind of thing in mind, which was decent, and it also works as random. But it felt like stealing another design that didn't feel really good. I made an Emperor Joker a dial that I liked, and it was just a lot of cosmic power. But like if I was gonna make a standard Power Joker, I wrote some notes. A trait to ignore poison and precision strike because he is immune to toxins because of his avid consumption of his own products. Precision strike because he's just unpredictable. You can't you can't precision strike him, especially considering that he has to have Mastermind. Team abilities would be Batman, Enemy, and Calculator. He would have all the relevant keywords. He would have a couple straight with Harley where she would get +1 attack because she's gonna be attacking me before him. He gets +1 defense because she's his human shield. Maximum around 150 points, which I think is reasonable. Like the 200-point version for Dark Knight was kind of crazy. He would maybe have poison traded or just have a lot of it on the dial, and then he definitely needs some Outwit, Perplex, and Prob. And on that note, I am so looking forward to the duo of him and Lex Luthor. Based on sculpt alone, I've never been as excited. I can't think of the last time I was as pumped for a figure as this, and I'm really hoping we get a solo version. Because we get so many of every other villain. Like, there's 6 Luthors now, but, like, the last Joker we got was 2 years ago. So, kind of surprised that of all the major villains, he seems to get the least versions. I don't know.
The good thing is we'll have another one very soon.
Hopefully solo and the duo. And the duo's a prime, so who knows? So much fun.
All right. With that said, it's been a wonderful year, guys. I want to thank all of our fans for all the time you spent watching. I want to thank all the guys, Jay, Mike. Thank you very much for this year and joining the show.
Thank you, too.
Probably one of the best we've had as far as the Metal Lab is concerned. Most consistent, that's for sure. I don't think we missed very much this year. Maybe a couple episodes here and there, but that was just rough start of the year. With that said, I want to thank our sponsors as well for the year, hcrealms.com. Go to their shop, realmsgaming.com, or click on the shop button at hcrealms.com. Use the coupon code MARRIED to get yourself 10% off of your purchase, and save a little bit of money on some of the cool stuff that they have here, Heroclix related stuff that they have. As well, hcatlas.com, a new service that started in the past couple months. Join up or sign up now, subscribe for $25 per month. If you got a couple days left to get in on that zombie apocalypse Nashville zombie apocalypse map. And the maps, from what I'm hearing, are very beautiful. The Gettysburgs are out, and most people have them, from my understanding. As well, majesticccg.com/Apex Insiders. The link is down below. Check it out, premium site with some awesome articles and content. And I do want to take a special second to thank those of you who have joined us on the Patreon, patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. Your support so far has gone to make everything in Married with Clicks a little bit better. We've got better editing software. We've got more content on the way. Pretty soon I'm going to start giving these guys some actual money as opposed to the YouTube nickels that we do get for this show. And we'll be creating a little bit more content as far as that's concerned, all towards eventually getting our own little tournament series, which will probably be using that all-comment format that was very well received for that one tournament that I ran. So if you want to support yourself, patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. I'm just going to take a second to especially thank one of our patrons who's been there since the beginning, and that is Michael Fedor. I want to thank you very much this year. You've been there since patron day one, and you have provided us with a lot of team builds, a lot of time, and a lot of financial effort. So specifically want to thank you, and that's not to take away from the rest of our patrons who have also been supporting us throughout the year. So thank you very much for that. And without further ado, guys, Happy New Year. Next week will be our Clicks year resolutions, what we plan on doing for ourselves next year in Heroclix. And with that, don't forget, even going into New Year, the practice
makes
your
team
better.
Happy New Year, guys. Thank you very much.